get my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great.
Hello, BYWG tribe. Here's a quick peek at our supplement, product, and book of the month for March 2020. At the end of the podcast, I will spend a few minutes going into further detail, so we encourage you to listen to the end. The supplement of the month for March is Stress Rebalancer. This is our unique, specially selected blend of adaptogens, vitamins, herbs, and amino acids that will help counteract the negative effects of stress on your body. The 10% discount code for the month of March is Stress Relieve 10. That's lowercase. Our book of the month is F Your Feelings, Master Your Mind, Accomplish Anything, and Become a More Significant Human by Ryan Muncie. Our product of the month is Kavaplex from True Kava. Our listeners will receive 20% off using the code, and it's all capitals, capital B, capital Y, capital W, capital G, capital K, capital A, capital V, capital A, BYWG Kava. It is very likely in the month of March we'll have both Ryan Muncie, the author of F Your Feelings, and Cameron George from True Kava on the podcast, so keep an eye out. All the links, discount codes, and special offers to the product, supplement, and the book will be listed in the show notes and iTunes, posted on social media, in our weekly newsletter, and on our website at www.beyondyourwildestgenes.com at the Listen Now tab. Thanks for listening. Hello, and welcome back to Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. Today on our podcast, we have a long-term friend of ours, multiple-time guest on our podcast and summits, someone who can be seen all over the bookshelves and TV. That's Dr. Kellyann Petrucci. How are you today?
I am great, and I'm happy to be here.
I got a quick...
You do some good work. You do some
you.
good work, and I love to be on this show. Yeah.
Thank you. You've been a long-time supporter, and we appreciate that. So, before we get into a little bit of our topic today, which is burnout and your new book, I have to ask you, you're one of the first people that brought paleo to the masses, and I can't think of another person who talked about bone broth and collagen prior to you. So when you see these at the top of the list of searches, along with the ketogenic diet, I mean, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like I've made some profound shifts and changes, and it almost, the gratitude that I feel is immeasurable, and I appreciate you recognizing that and calling that out. Thank you. But because when you're first on the marketplace for a lot of things, a lot of times you are kind of on the back burner. You're the quiet one because you're the one that created the path. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that is not the one who is rewarded in a lot of ways. And the thing is, I'm at a point in juncture in my life where I feel like I don't need to be. I just look at all of this going on, all this momentum. And one of the things that we've also brought out, into the marketplace was this whole idea of intermittent fasting.
Yes.
We really made that very commercial to people because the whole premise of the bone broth diet was bringing intermittent fasting to the mainstream. So it was a way of getting the same results without going through the pain. And when I tested it out, when I tested bone broth and I tested fasting, and I decided to combine the two, it was very surprising to me that you could get the same results. So that's the premise and the through line of all my work, how you can get the same results and still be comfortable without the pain.
And that's what everybody wants, isn't it? I mean,
it is, because that's the only way you're going to get continuity in any program. So that's the whole point. It's how do we get results, and how do we do that by being kind to ourselves? And I think a lot of times that's really what's missing, and that's what we're looking for. And I love to see these mid-course changes that I'm seeing, because for the first time that I can remember in nutrition, they are actually very science-based and effective. We saw all of these. Gone are the days where we used to feel like we had to be on a treadmill for 2 hours and that the only thing that we could eat is protein. I mean, you remember that, right?
Sure do.
And yeah. And so again, we went through a lot of pain to get results. And as things are evolving and as things are progressing, we're finding better ways to do things. We're finding more efficient ways to turn on the channels and gates in your body to make your body, as I always say, bionic.
Doc, let me just do your bio for the 5 people
Sure.
out there. I don't know who you are, and then we'll get it. So, Dr. Kellyann is the author of the New York best-selling book, Dr. Kellyan's Bone Broth Diet, Dr. Kellyan's Bone Broth Cookbook, the 10-Day Belly Slimdown, and Dr. Kellyan's Cleanse and Reset, which we're going to touch upon today a little bit more. She's also the host
Yes.
of the highly successful PBS special 21 Days to a Slimmer, Younger You and the 10-Day Belly Slimdown. A weight loss and natural anti-aging expert, Dr. Petrucci is a concierge
Mm-hmm.
doctor for celebrities in New York City and Los Angeles. She's a board-certified naturopathic physician and certified nutrition consultant. Dr. Petrucci did
Right.
postgraduate work in Europe, studying naturopathic medicine in England and Switzerland. She is one of the few practitioners in the United States certified in biological medicine by the esteemed
Yes.
Dr. Thomas Rao of the Parcellus Clinic,
Uh,
Listmule. How about that?
yep. 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 That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Doc. No, it's a Paracelsus. Paracelsus. Yes.
And she's a regular contributor to Dr. Oz, which I've watched all your appearances, Good Morning America, and other national news programs. She's authored 6 best-selling books. She's been on Women's World, Lifestyle, Closer, Harper's Bazaar, Daily Mail, Redbook, and more. And she's also the driving force behind the popular website, drkellyann.com. Woo, well, no wonder you had a bout with burnout. So why don't we
No
start there
doubt.
and tell us, what happened to you and just take us through that story.
Well, I think it's success begets success, and no matter what kind of success that you're looking for, whether you're a mother looking to achieve for yourself while you're raising your children, or looking for the success in your children, or even in your career, success begets success. And the more success that you have, the more opportunities come your way. And it's really important at this juncture of your life that you understand the value of saying no. And we hear that all the time, really to really value that. But to value that and to actually put that into play is a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. So I think in terms of my life and what took course for me was I had a lot of opportunities come my way, and they were exciting and they were fun and they were the things that I've always dreamed of. So if you can picture a mom at home, and here she is, she's watching her child succeed, and she wants more of that success for them because she sees what it's doing for her child's life, and she's trying to find her own success at the same time. And we see parents and people that are trying to take care of their parents and their children at the same time, more than ever before. All of this, and for all of these reasons and many more, even environmental reasons, we start to move closer and closer to what we now know as burnout. And that certainly was the case for me. I was doing a lot of different things at once. I still had a practice. I still seeing patients regularly independently of that practice. I was running a digital business, building a team, and doing a lot of television and writing and all of these things. And because they were lifelong dreams, because they were exciting to me, it wasn't something that I felt like I should say no. But what happens is you start to become numb. You go from thing to thing to thing. And one of the core principles from that situation and from those lessons that I always teach patients now is to ask yourself all of the time, how do I feel? So losing connection to yourself, I say to you from your source, but whatever that is to you, losing connection to yourself is what causes all of these things that we're talking about, including burnout. And I think if you could just take that one little tool and be aware and ask yourself these questions all of the time, ask yourself, how do you feel when you look in the mirror? How does your body feel? How does this food make you feel? And not go through things numb, but to become really aware, really plugged in, the chances of all of these things occurring are going to be much less.
Well, two things come to mind. One, I believe it's Warren Buffett that has a quote that goes, basically say no, 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 and yes. Basically 100 no's to one yes, And, I feel in some ways like you, recently, and this is a little bit off topic, but recently for the last 3 or 4 months, I've been taking cold showers, and it has profoundly changed the way I feel, the way I function. I cannot believe it, but I tried to do this 2, 3 years ago, and I think my adrenals were shot, and it was just like the worst thing ever. So you do have to ask those questions and pay attention to your body, like you said, because what's right now may not have been right a couple years ago.
Oh, there's always adjustments and mid-course corrections. With every decade, there are adjustments. There's different testing that you should be aware of. There's different products that you should be using. There's different dietary measures that you should be making. And what typically happens, and what I've seen in practice, is they'll come to me, and it's so funny when you look at all of the patterns, and you have to put together kind of an algorithm. When you see patients, you have to, when you're assessing patients and when you're seeing patients, it's always about putting together patterns, looking at them individually, but also seeing, okay, well, when this connects to this, that means this. And when this connects to this, that means this. And one of the most fascinating things that I found was early on in the flip of a decade is when people come in and they feel the most aimless, the most lost, and the most distraught, the most unhappy with how they're looking and feeling. And it's making those adjustments. So I typically see, even in the 20s, there are all kind of typical things that I see in the 20s, typical things that need to be adjusted with diet. But I'm speaking, by the way, particularly for women and about women, because that was the mainstay of my practice. So a lot of times in that stage, they're prepping for children. And it's a lot of hormonal changes in a different way. And then in their 30s, they're dealing with, oh my gosh, I have these kids. I'm losing myself and seeing my kids more than I'm seeing myself. And how do I keep this balance? So 30s, the main kind of premise is, how do I keep balance in my life? And then in the 40s is, how do I get back? How do I get it back? Because now I want to enter back into my career. My kids are getting older, and it's all of the dietary, all of the science that goes behind understanding the physiology of what goes behind that. And then in the 50s, it's empty nest time. And that brings about, the psychological patterns always follow physiology, always. And your physiology never lies. So I can walk through a mall, I can walk through a restaurant, I can look at someone's physiology, and I can tell what's not only going on mentally, but I can also tell a lot about their habits. Because you can't hide these things. You can't. And then in the 60s, we've got no more hormones left in our body. We're going through a different time in our life. There's energy exchanges that change and that are different. So with every decade, there's pattern changes, the natural circadian rhythms of life. And when they come to me, I often see them at the beginning of those stages. So I'll see someone usually mid to late 20s. And then I see someone early 30s, early 40s, early 50s. That's when they're the most distraught and aimless, trying to figure out, how do I kind of tucker into this age? How do I do that? And they don't know that that's what they're doing. They don't know that that's what they need. They don't know that's what they're longing for. But oftentimes it's you really kind of figuring out how to work the physiology of your current age, of the current decade.
No, I could just think about myself, and I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. Boy, what about mid-40s for guys? What's your thoughts?
I say you need to start getting testosterone shots.
That's one of the reasons for the cold showers, and you are right.
Yes.
I am being much more cognizant of my testosterone levels at 45. You are. It's exactly
And
what
again,
I'm doing.
of course, and again, it's that vasodilation. So we have to make sure that that is all maintained. There's a lot of circuitry and a lot of chemistry that goes along with the body that has to work in synchronicity. As you know,
Yep.
Our body is an orchestra. There's no point corrections. It's like saying, I want to exercise to only lose fat here. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And it's the same thing in the body. And that's why, getting back to everything that we're talking back and kind of circling back, what happens in the body shows up on the outside. That's the main point. And what we want now is healthy aging. Healthy aging. It's very different than any premise that we've had before. And when you get all of these in play and you understand the emotional part, you understand the environmental component, then that chance of burnout is much less likely to happen.
Yeah.
And so as you can see, this is really a matter of awareness.
Yeah.
So a lot of this has to do with just awareness, and that's what I'm here for, and that's what I do with people, is really just waking them up up to all of these points.
Yeah. Yes. And and unfortunately, I think more people are becoming less aware of how they feel in their health, and or they're numb to it, or they're afraid to make the necessary changes. I'm not sure what it is, but I see it so much, or complacency, or apathetic. I don't know what it is.
I don't think it's apathy. I
Okay.
don't. I
Okay.
think, and this is after doing this for over 25 years, having women sit next to me and tell me everything about their life, everything about what's going on in their home, what's going on outside of the home for them, their pathway in life. And what I can tell you is it goes back to everything we were just talking about. It's you go from thing to thing to thing, and you lose consciousness. So we hear a lot about mindfulness and consciousness and this whole thing that we're learning on breath awareness. All of this is about bringing our mind and our heart rhythms and our pulse, everything, back to us, back to an awareness. Where am I in time and space? What am I eating? What am I feeling? How does this person that I'm with make me feel? Because a person should bring out the best in you, not the stress in you. That's very important. It's very important to have an internal doorman that allows you to be very careful about who you let in your life, because as we well know, Noah, it's very easy to have people enter into your life. It's very hard to get people out of your life. So understanding the no's, like Warren Buffett said, no, 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 one yes. So 20 no's to every one yes. Having that internal doorman that really watches with caution who you allowed into your circus. Because if you let the wrong person into your circus, then you've got problems.
The doorman principle is
Uh-huh.
an enormous foundational principle for success in all areas of your life. Unbelievable principle.
Yes, it really is. And you just call it your internal doorman. And that doorman should always be there as a guide, guiding you. And in order to do that, you have to be plugged in. You have to be able to plug into what's around you and how things make you feel and how people make you feel. It's a very important indicator, because every time you're around something that's not congruent or not aligned, you're leaking your power little by little by little. And if you think about it, our cells have a megahertz. They literally have a measure of energy to them. So we're given, like women, they say all the time, women for their fertility, they have a certain amount of eggs, and once those expire, you're done. It's the same thing with molecular chemistry and biology and thinking about the megahertz of your cells. You have a certain amount of energy to give. So why give it to anything that is not aligned and not of value to you?
You could preach that on the mountain. You could preach that out off on the mountaintop for sure.
Yes. I mean, these are all things that burn you out.
Man.
They're all things that burn you out. They're pivotal. They're important. And sometimes you have to stop. You have to pause, and you have to pivot. You have to pivot. You have to pivot away from these things in life, because it's what you do every day that chips away at you. It's not the one-offs. It's not the one-offs that, you went to the sunset room and had too many cocktails on a Friday night. That's not what takes you down. What takes you down is the environment that you put yourself in, that you choose to put yourself in, and you keep in that environment when it's not serving you. It chips away at you like a cancer. And so all of these things matter. We can talk about electrosmog, which is that's not woo-woo anymore. We know that there's very prestigious journals out there that are talking about the science behind electrosmog. That's that we have all of these computers and cell phones and everything else emitting all of this energy all of the time. And we can't live in a bubble. We can't live in a cave. We have to know how to protect ourselves and know how to deal with these things. One of the easiest things that's documented is just don't sleep with your cell phone next to your bed.
Oh boy.
Little tiny things like that. But see, not being aware of these things and not adjusting to them. Again, these are the things that megahertz I talked about in the cells, the megahertz. It lowers that number. So if you're at a megahertz of about 2 or 3, as opposed to maybe 59, 60, what happens is that's when disease drops to that organism.
Right.
So it's very important that we keep our cells where they should be. So we don't want anything that's going to interfere with that. We don't want anything that's going to deplete us. We don't want anything that's going to wear us down. So we talk a lot about immune system and things that wear down our immune system. In the end, everything rises and falls on our immune system. And this is all part of that cascade. So understand these areas of depletion is very important to lifestyle. We all now want lifestyle. That's the number one thing. If you look at analytics, specifically Google Analytics, and you look at what millennials are looking for, who are now very important in the marketplace, so they're getting a lot of attention. They want lifestyle. They don't want anything quick, and they don't want anything fatty, and they don't want things that don't make sense to them. So if we're going to have true lifestyle, a true healthy lifestyle, all of these things play a part, because that's how you get your body working like that symphony.
Now, I want to touch on and ask you about your new book, but I want to ask you something because I know you're in touch with everything. So
Yes.
both you and I, had our foundations first in chiropractic, and we learned,
Yes.
the nervous system controls and coordinates the entire body. I mean, that's our first premise, right?
Yes.
And then you move on a little bit to functional medicine, and then you see the body as a little, the nervous system still coordinated and everything, but everything more in conjunction. You just talked about the immune system and everything kind of working together, hormones, the whole, like you said, it's an orchestra. Now we find, the endocannabinoid system has receptors in every single system of the body, and that might be the orchestrator. Like, how do you put that all into?
Right.
How do you put that all in your mind? Like, where do I go with that?
Here's the key. You can't think about synapses. You can't think about neurons. You can't think about end caps. You can't think about telomeres. You can't think about everything that I would love to sit here and talk an hour about, because that puts us in the wrong part of our brain. It puts us constantly in that operating system part of the brain. And that's not protective to us. What we want to do is keep our brain and our body in a flow state. So that's where these simple lifestyle principles, that's where they come into play. You shouldn't have to think about that's analysis, right? That's paralysis by analysis. Okay. So what I say, and typically patients, as you know, they don't want to learn 50 things in order to have an orchestra running in their body. Right. What they want, they need to know a couple of simple, basic things. They need to understand the importance of fat. They need to understand the importance of where are these, we're talking a lot about plant-based proteins. What are they? How does this fit into my dietary needs? We're seeing a lot of these alternative milks. Do we need them? Do we not need them? Right. We're seeing all different kind of waters. What do I drink? You just have to cut to the chase and talk about the macros. What are the foods that our bodies need to function? And then how can we make them beautiful? How can we make them sexy? How can we enjoy these? So making food decadent and loving the company that you have while you're eating meals is incredibly preventative. And you don't have to get into a lot of analysis about every single structure and function of the body. And again, let's go back to the main point. The main point is that we're not just structural beings, right? We're molecules. Mm-hmm. So we think all the time that we're bones. That's what we are. We're muscles, we're bones, we're all of that. But we're so much more. The intelligence, the innate intelligence that our body holds is really quite astounding. It's astounding. So if you can just understand how your body really runs, what your body really runs on, when we talk about having energy, when we talk about having health, when we talk about foundational beauty, which is true beauty, and that should be the beauty that every woman wants to capture and enrapture, is foundational beauty. I don't care what you do. I don't care what cosmetic surgery. I don't care what you do, what kind of fillers or any of that. I'm not judging any of that. But what I'm saying is, in order for that to really work and to have that real luster that everybody wants, you have to have foundational beauty. You just have to understand how the body truly works. We are atoms and molecules, and that's a fact.
And a lot of space and a lot of water.
Yes. Yes.
So,
very good point.
So tell us about your newest book that came out, I think, in December.
Yes, it's Dr. Kellyan's Cleanse and Reset. And I talk about a lot of these principles in burnout. Not only do I talk about them, how to avoid them, I talk about, believe it or not, there's a lot of nutritional tricks that you can use that's very protective against burnout. And you know what? The bottom line is this. When we're talking about diet, Noah, there's three things that you have to accomplish. And if you can accomplish these three things, which I talk about in Dr. Kellyan's Cleanse and Reset, if you can reduce overall inflammation, that's head to toe inflammation. If you can, secondly, heal the gut. And third, teach the body to become a natural fat burner. In doing these three things, there's nothing the body can't accomplish. So if I were to take all of the patients that I ever saw, and I would put them in a football field, and I would look at them and I would say, who are the patients that had the ultimate success? Who were the patients that came in with a certain plan in mind or a certain success meter? Who did it? Who accomplished it? It was the people who did those three things. We got rid of their head to toe inflammation. We healed their gut, and we trained them how to be a natural fat burner. So when I look at a lot of these mainstream diets, or I look at a lot of these diet programs out there that people tend to lean towards, I think to myself, this is not for long-term health. This is not for lifestyle, because when I look at what's in the products, they don't accomplish those three things. Every program that I've ever written, every product that I've ever developed will always be engineered to do those three things. Because after practicing all of these years, I know that is the one thing, the most important thing that a person needs to achieve success.
Well, so I'm trying to think of something to add there, but I'm just thinking about some of your prime products like bone broth and collagen. That does the exact three things that you talked about. Has an
Yes,
impact
because
on
that's all
inflammation?
that's important.
Yeah.
Yes, if it doesn't do those three things, it's a no for me. If you
Right.
notice, I have a very specific brand identity.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that, because I don't ambulance chase products. What I do is I look at what are the needs that need to be met, and I meet those needs, and only that, and that's all I ever will do. And again, from listening to people for all those years, I know that when they accomplish those three things, they'll have success, and you can meet those in my programs, and you can achieve those with my products.
Now, any final pieces of advice, anything beyond, nutrition that, we could just touch upon? Anything else?
Oh, there's
There's a
a
lot.
ton of things.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things. I think the most important thing for anyone listening out there that really feels that they're in a place where they don't know who they are anymore. People come to me all the time and they feel like they're different, and they need direction, and understand that no matter how you're feeling, I don't care what you put in front of me, you can turn it around. And knowing the body and understanding the body, you become very confident in this, because your body is dying to regenerate. Okay? There's something called regeneration, cellular regeneration that happens. So your intestinal cells, for instance, they turn over every 21 days, which is why my bone broth diet is called the 21-day bone broth diet. So understand the intelligence behind that and what you can do to hop onto that intellect. So 21 days. Does it not make sense then, Noah, that if you gave your body the right raw material for 21 days, you could have a whole new set of intestinal lining? And what does that mean? That means that you're going to absorb your food better and you're going to metabolize your food better. Therefore, your functionality is going to be heightened.
Yep.
It's going to be heightened. So everything, even your nerves, the sheaths on your nerves, everything regenerates. All it wants is an opportunity to do so. That's why I decided with this book, which by the way was my 9th, I decided to focus on this whole idea of cleansing because I want everyone to understand beyond autophagy. And autophagy, for those that don't understand what that is, that's the science behind allowing your body to go through this tripwire of change, this regeneration. And understand again what my work is. My work is, how do I make things easy, but you still get the same results? How do I make them easy on you so you can endure the change? So you can go through autophagy without having to do a water fast for 5 days. It's called bone broth. You pick up the bone broth, you drink the bone broth 2 non-consecutive days a week, have what I call a mini meal at night, which is just a smart meal. That's all it is. It's a protein. It's a great fat, and there's so many to choose from, and they're all in the book. And understand the kind of carbs that you need. And the reason why most people cannot accomplish a plan to help them lose weight, weight management is difficult, is because people have to understand that when your body is going through a more efficient operating system, so it's going from using carbohydrates for fuel to using fat for fuel, you have to give it a minute. It's called the carb flu. The carb flu. What does that mean? It means that you could feel weak. You could feel shaky, very flu-like symptoms that happens typically on day 2 to 4 and last about 3 days, typically for most patients, most people. So understanding that doesn't mean you need to say, oh, this didn't work for me. I'm completely bonking. I need more carbs. Understanding when your body actually needs carbs is very important. So a lot of bad press these poor carbs get, but there's a lot of options for good carbs, again, in the book, that will fuel you. So there's 2 kinds of carbs, the carbs that give you fiber, which you need because you've got 24 inches of intestines running through your body. You have to eat things that move things through this, that cleanse and not clog. And secondly, you have to understand the type of carbs that give you energy. And when you get this system of understanding how to fuel yourself with just enough carbs, baby, you are home free. You are home free.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Now, what's your daily rhythm, just as we wind down, from when you wake up to when you go to sleep? Do you have a specific routine?
My specific routine is that I typically eat very little during the day. I've trained my body to be able to do this. I might eat a bar. I might eat a shake. My body functions very well like this. Unless I do a workout that has resistance weight, then I need to have a protein meal afterwards, a carb meal afterwards. Other than that, I eat very little during the day, and I always eat a nice, sizable dinner at night. And because my body was able to go through that cellular regeneration phase, and it knows it's going to get it on a routine basis, I don't have any problems. I don't have to think all the time about my weight. It becomes a non-issue, and that's how we have to move towards pleasure and enjoyment and being kind to ourselves and not constantly worried about everything.
Boy, you're right on target today, Doc. I gotta
Thank
tell
you. Thank you.
You're always on target.
Thank you.
What's the best way? I'm assuming it's your website. What's the best way the audience can get in touch with you?
Dr. Kellyann. There's no E. It's drkellyann.com. And my Instagram, I would love if people went on my Instagram. I give great great content. It's Dr. Kellyann, again, no E, Petrucci. It's my full name. But if you type in Dr. Kellyann, it'll populate.
Nice, nice. Well, thanks as always. All the links to your book, new book, will be in the show notes. Other links that are attached to this podcast will be in the show notes and in our weekly email. So thanks again. I love when you're on. I appreciate your
Oh,
time.
thank you. Thank you.
And have a fantastic day. And I appreciate you being on again.
You got it. And keep doing good things.
We are. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye now.
My name is Dr. Noah DeCoyer. It's Dr. Noah, and I'm back. I suspect you love listening to this week's podcast release. Our book of the month is F Your Feelings, Master Your Mind, Accomplish Anything, and Become a More Significant Human by Ryan Muncie. We absolutely love this book and the author. A must read. The link will be in the emails, social media, and our show notes, so check it out. Our product of the month is Kavaplex, full spectrum kava oil. Kava has been used for thousands of years and is enjoyed by millions as a drink when it is prepared in the traditional way by kneading and squeezing the root powder in water for some time. Now it is available when you need it without all the time and hassle in a full spectrum oil product from True Kava called Kavaplex. I first tried this product after receiving it in a Biohacks quarterly box and fell in love with it. You can check it out at our website, and you can receive 20% off using the code capital B, capital Y, capital W, capital G, capital K, capital A, capital V, capital A, BYWG Kava. The supplement of the month for March is Stress Rebalancer. This is a specially selected blend of vitamins, adaptogens, herbs, and amino acids that help counteract the negative effects of stress on the body. By reducing cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, improving immune function, acting as antioxidants against free radical formation, improving muscle relaxation, calming the brain, and reducing anxiety and mild depression and helping with better sleep. This is a one-stop shop for managing the physical impacts of stress. The 10% discount code for the month of March is Stress Relieve 10 and can be used online or at the office. If you have any questions or comments, please never hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you for your time and be awesome and never unawesome.